Hello everybody and welcome. In this video we'll be playing in the Switcheroo seasonal event. And in this mode, after 2 turns both players switch hands. So that means we'll be playing one card from our hand, then one from our opponent's, then one from ours again, and so on. And this means you must be careful what cards you keep in your hand, as they can be used against you. And note that as you do at least get to play one card from your original hand, players do tend to keep one particularly powerful card for that purpose, and several weaker cards that they don't mind the opponent using. But in general you should always try to remember what else is in your hand that could be used against you in the later turns. And in general this mode is all about trying to set up some form of asymmetry in your deck, so there is more value when you play cards than your opponent. And there are several ways in which this can be achieved, whether from the devotion effect, not having duplicates in deck, thinning cards which your opponent cannot trigger, or tutor cards which simply will have no value to your opponent, to mention a few. Your chosen leader ability is also often going to be the most unique aspect of your deck. Even within factions, it can set you apart, and asymmetry can also come from that, as it could trigger cards that your opponent cannot. Also, you should note that there is no point passing in this mode, because cards will continue to exchange hands even after one player has passed, so do not expect to be able to pass early and retain a card advantage going into subsequent rounds. And because of this, the first round will be 10 cards long, and each subsequent round will be 3 cards long, and it will depend a lot on how you top deck. And that being the case, another possible strategy for this mode is by having 3 win conditions in your deck. Some card which has good value in a long round for round 1, and point slam cards which play well in a 3 card round. Anyway, let's see the deck we'll be using in this video. So, here's the deck we'll be using. In the Switcheroo event, players will repeatedly switch hands with one another, so we want to make it so our cards are of little value to our opponent. And the Syndicate deck is full of coin generators, but with little to no spenders, there is no value in having so many coins. And we'll start with our leader ability, Jackpot, and we can use it one time to immediately gain 9 coins, but the real value here comes from its secondary effect. It has units boost themselves whenever they give us excess coin, and so even if we maximize our coins, we start getting additional value from playing our cards which our opponents do not. And this is the form of asymmetry we'll be utilizing in order to give us an edge over our opponents. So the strategy here is simple. We play a bunch of units which have profit, which will then be boosted by our leader ability. And so any of our units that we play for more value than when our opponent plays them. And we'll start with the cards we look to get out quickly in round 1. One is Imka, and at the end of every turn she'll give us 2 coins. She's also a spender as well, but a shield may not translate into any value in this event. But again, once we have 9 coins, she'll turn into a +2 engine. And Saul Denavaret is another nice engine that relies on coins, and his engine value increases by 1 for every 3 coins in our coffin. And we'd like to get out Imka or Saul on our first turn, and that way they'd be quite formidable engines, and because round 1 is 10 cards long, they should find good value here. In the shorter round 2 and round 3, we need cards which are more of a point slam, and we have a few cards which work in different scenarios. Orson's Freak Show has profit 2, and can also spend 2 coin in order to do 2 damage. And Freak Show can be a good option in round 2 if our opponent is trying to set up carryover in the form of a resilience unit. And keep in mind that this is one of the cards we'd least like our opponent to get, as it means they can spend coins, so we either must play it immediately or mulligan it. Our other option is Jacques de Aldersberg, who has profit 4, and he can pay tribute 4 in order to spawn 2 Flaming Rose Footmen, which are 3 power tokens. So he immediately plays with 12 points, and he also has a fee ability, which we can use to boost him by an additional point by using any of our spare coins. Really, that's basically all you need to know about this deck. The Switcheroo mode necessitates that the strategy be simple, because you can't stop your opponent messing with your hand, and we simply deny our opponent any value to our coin, and then play the best card from their hand or alternatively the card that has the best value for them to play when we have the opportunity. And we look to have one of our powerful cards in hand for each one of our rounds. Ideally Imka or Saul for round 1, and then Jacques for round 2 if won the previous round. And we'll finish with a quick flip through the rest of the deck. So I'm using the Cursed Scroll stratagem, which allows us to draw a card of our choice and then return one to the deck. And we could use this to fix our hand if we drew too many of our strong cards, in which case we'd return one. Or better yet, while we have our opponent's hand, we could draw a card from our deck and return something that they might want to play, but we can't. A Neuromancy for tutoring, and this will allow us to draw our best card in round 1 and round 2, so it's effective for setting up our win conditions. And Siggy Reuben is Profit 10 in this deck, making him our best profit card, and of course any coin overflow will go into boosting Siggy. He also has Intimidate, and we have a few crime cards which will boost an additional point. Now Philibert Eilhart is an interesting card here, because on deploy she can seize an enemy unit by spending coin equal to its power. And there are a couple of options for using her. If we have just lost round 1, we can either use Philippa to immediately seize our opponent's win condition for round 2, which may be particularly effective if they've just set up some carryover in the form of a resilience unit. Of course we may need to use our leader ability to do this, but as we get 2 times value on each coin for her ability, it is usually worthwhile. And we can also have her in our hand in round 1, considering that our opponent must first accrue coins before playing her. So we do have a window of opportunity where she is no threat to us, and we can risk our opponent having her in their hand. And the Flying Redanian is a nice way for us to get carryover, and it's because if we have 9 coins in our coffer, at the end of our turn it will jump from our deck or grave to an allied row. And note that if we brick it in our hand, our opponent could play this card, but that's not usually much of an issue. In subsequent rounds, players only have 3 cards in hand, and that means they'll only get to play 1 of ours. And this means they usually cannot generate the necessary coin to bring the Redanian back. And of course this would however deny us the carryover. And of course in later rounds we can use our leader ability to immediately summon the Redanian at the end of our turn, by raising our coins to 9. Verko the Sculptor is the Syndicate Tutor, who allows us to play crimes from our deck, and if our opponent is not Syndicate, Verko will have little value for them, simply being a 2-point body. Adalbertus Kelkstein can spend coins to purify units, so he is a spender, but as we don't use poison or locks in our deck, he doesn't detract from our strategy. But he could be useful if our opponent is throwing around statuses from something like Masquerade Ball. We could have Kelkstein help us out. And Ludovicus Brunenbaum is another big profit unit after Siggy, and he'll give us 9 coins and probably can't be answered in this mode, so we won't need to use his tribute ability. We simply need to wait 3 turns and he'll boost himself by 9. And Pickpocket is even less value for our opponent than our units, as this profit cannot even trigger Jackpot, as it doesn't come from a unit, and it can only find value when combined with a spender. And this is usually one of the last cards we'll look to play. As I said, it doesn't trigger Jackpot, although it can find value in rounds 2 and 3, where we do use a spender like Jacques in order to win. Another profit card, but it also has some card exchange. It allows us to draw a card and put a card from our hand at the bottom of our deck, so we could potentially use this card to fix our hand. Sewer Raiders is a thinning card, and as long as we have 4 coins, we'll summon the other copy from our deck. And this is another card that will have little value to our opponent if they're not Syndicate, other than being a 4-point body, whereas it is 8 points for us. And of course our opponent may still wish to play it in order to deny us the chance. Casino Bouncers are more thinning. And Bloody Good Fun is one of the only offensive crime cards we've got in this deck, and this is ideally what we we would use Furco to tutor, as we could use it to answer a threat our opponent has. So this is not a card we want in our hand, but one we want to keep in our deck. So mulligan this whenever you see it. More profit. And Tax Collector is the weaker version of Imka. Okay, so the Mutant's Maker, when played, will destroy an allied unit and then gain 3 coin. And this is obviously detrimental, especially if our opponent cannot even use coin. So we look to keep the Mutant's Maker as our last card in round 1, so that our opponent will either have to destroy their weakest unit, or discard this card if they are not running Devotion, in which case they would simply gain 3 coins. And note that we are not running a Devotion deck here, but he will still play for 7 for us, so he can still use him to destroy any weaker unit on our board and trade up. And finally the Beggar for more profit. So that's our deck, and as always the link to the deck list is below in the video description. Now let's see how this deck plays.
I will not let this become a second Sodom.
Are all lasses from Skellige so awe-inspiring?
We await the signal. Till then, don't budge.
It's time.
Remember, this will be our little secret.
My lads will make sure of that. An ill wind blows.
For the Daisy of the Valley!
Waste of arrows, that lot.
You're safe to be candid under my roof.
Ugh, you lads smell that?
Bloody ass! Don't dare think you can escape!
For the Daisy of the Valley!
Humans to the sea!
No mercy!
Never a problem 4 inches of steel couldn't solve. I'm gonna lose your teeth too.
I'd fail men herrieth den verde.
Onward, Fryhead!
I've a great eye for faces. Don't blame me for your crooked nose.
Your Beth will avenge us, Dwan!
May your sword and arm be one.
Leave me, vile spectre! Be gone! Scoia'tael!
Aim between the eyes! Leave none alive!
Let us sing the song of steel!
In this world, only two things are certain.
Up for a game! No experience required.
Dart of death! Ha! Ha!
Well, we've not had enough.
My noble knight, be still.
Are all lasses from Skellige so awe-inspiring?
They belong to me, and me alone.
You feel a draft? Let me shut the door.
What? Out of breath already?
No more half measures. Fill 'em full.
I'm all ears.
It's all right. We're alone here, just between us.
%10 for peace of mind? Well...
You fear me. I sense it. I smell it.
Paint your likeness for a crown!
That's your move. Interesting.
Come closer. Come on now, try.
Better luck next time, pal.
Oh, the digits dropped off. Oh, we must sew them back on.
Humanity will perish, while the few survivors will be like animals.
Spars per plan vort.
Easy to forget about the Isles in my arms.
They belong to me, and me alone.
Come, I shall sing you to sleep.
My lads will make sure of that.
Good luck. Not too much, eh?
I do not mince words. On principle.
To the gentleman with the forehead tattoo at 500.
Ha! Where better to plot than in one's own lair?
Soon, sisters. Very soon. I'm the best and last.
Do you feel a draft? Let me shut the door.
Unfortunately, transformation robs them of speech.
Corpses overboard! Live ones to the cage!
No,
I don't nibble at them, they'd fall right out.
Paint your likeness for a crown!
There is no escape.
The time of sword and axe, the age of the golden storm is nigh.
When pigs fly, eh?
No, dwarves do not qualify for childcare tax relief.
That's your move. Interesting.
Blood, so hot, so sweet.
Onward! Attack!
Gia Horatio!
Are all lasses from Skellige so awe-inspiring?
You're safe to be candid under my roof.
I hope we can trust you.
Break something and I'll break something too. I'll break you.
Scare and scatter the lots!
Little cockle perched upon a fence.
Sewers remind me of the fjords back home.
Tomfoolery! Enough!
I'm no beggar. I'm an artist.
Bloody hate mages. Cheating's second nature to them. Aiming to lose your teeth too?
Appearances can be deceiving.
Temeria has yet to speak its last.
Getting to work.
They belong to me, and me alone.
A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Up for a game! No experience required.
This world, only two things are certain.
My lads will make sure of that.
Fortunately, transformation robs them of speech.
Paint your likeness for a crown!
Well, I guess that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching. As always, the link to the deck is in the video description. If you have questions about specific card choices, possible changes and improvements to the deck, feel free to leave a comment below the video and I'll respond to it when I can. Until next time,